First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jessica and I'll be your tour guide today, helping you discover the architecture of the Barbican estate. I will accompany you on this conducted walk, educating you on the complex structure of its architectural design, which will become clearer when I begin to guide you down the various interlinking high walks and bring your attention to the routes which can be walked. Before you enter, I'd like to ask you to become observant to how you walk around this site, noticing what you're individually drawn to. I'll begin by initially providing an introduction to the principal characteristics of the Barbican architecture. From there, we are going to go towards the sculpture court and pass through the maze of high walks, finishing at the central landmark inside the Barbican Art Centre. I hope you all have appropriate footwear on due to the extensive walking. The tour will be a duration of 15 minutes, and after we conclude the excursion, if anyone is interested, please take your time to wander this network of podiums and annotate your findings also. I hope you all enjoy the tour, and please follow me. If you'd like to look with me at the map in front of you, the Barbican complex is a vision of Peter Chamberlain, Geoffrey Powell and Christoph Bond's architectural experiments, with the inclusion of Pacific Brutalist style references and the task of creating a high-density living and social estate, which retains an open and spacious feel. It provides us pedestrians with a mini metropolis, enclosed in the commotion of the outskirting city of London, creating a new district, the Barbican. The Barbican estate opened in 1982 and is a 30-acre site with 2,014 flats, including the London City School for Girls and landmarks such as the church and art centre, which you'll view as we walk the site. The architecture you see surrounding you may from an aesthetic opinion appear bland and functional. However, this influence is from the post-war British architecture style, Brutalist. Brutalism, from brute, meaning raw, is a way of using concrete in its purest form, making the overall Barbican estate as clear to its function. A new mode of walking around the site is also seen, using a system of high walks to commute through. This model of transportation creates a separation of pedestrians from street level and other vernacular movement of the city, coincidentally creating a whole extra floor for walking activity, which is particularly of use to my practice. I will now direct you all towards the sculpture court, where you encounter other walkers who experienced this tour previously, influence them to enrich their own methods of travel if you would like to proceed. To begin to extend this subconscious nature towards the action of walking, I asked each walker to notice the way in which they move for their daily trajectories. To begin this exploration, I asked each individual to simply walk around this enclosed area and just start to become attentive to the process of alternative stepping through the feet when switching direction and the frequency of strides, which you'll see in front of you. This introduced the walkers slowly into a state of exploration. An initial focus on pace came from me asking each walker to test different speeds, whether slow, medium or fast, and when reaching their own personal limit to decrease by 10%, gradually until they felt a sense of ease through the rest of their body, concluding to discover a pace which was individual. The continuation in this task highlighted the tacit nature of movement existing in the moment and then untraceable. The photographs you see displayed on screen present a layering of their movements, and therefore, in the practice of everyday life, Merkel de Santo suggests from these continuous negotiations, the space shifts, amends and alters when in conversation with walkers' spatial choices. Add the choice of bringing their focus to another walker's rhythm and noticing this pace, providing a moment of shared interaction at points in their separate journeys. You will notice instantly how the quality and dynamics of space are affected, especially the interchange of roles between tracking and being tracked. When I've just introduced you to open your thoughts on walking, now let's approach the concept of right and sight walking cultures. and these investigative tasks aiming towards each individual developing their own personalised mode of travel. Lines and sights provide each pedestrian, referring to the walkers in this task, with a selection of walking manifestos, including anecdotes from previous excursions and tasks to engage with. Walking culture encourages pedestrians to begin to notice and develop a signature way of interacting and moving through their daily landscapes, and for this journey to be a constant experiment to discover the differences and to develop individuality of their walk that is distinctive as their handwriting. To start from the basic statistics of this daily movement, I ask walkers to adjust the tension themselves as they pause the sole of the foot on the floor to lift into space, noticing the user's movement through the air, paying attention to the moment transferring the weight, then begin to draw the foot back into the floor. Feeling this moment of contact and absorbance when placing upon the concrete. Reflected in Rudolf Laban's movement analysis of stepping, defines the complete transference of weight from one body part to another, in which he also provides walking as a simplistic example. For establishing walking as a phrase of movement rather than transitioning action, I asked each individual to transfer this step rule into using other body parts to travel, involving the whole body in this act, through bearing their weight of mass on certain other areas of contact other than their feet. Michael Leonard, a scholar who approaches the relationships between dance and architecture, also focuses on this emphasis of a whole body articulation, asking the public to fill the spaces between their joints and the range of mobility you can achieve. Setting the principle of one body part following another with a concentration on alternative stepping provided each walker with creative agency to test and discover a new walk, and counteracts everyday functional and efficient usage. Jeff Nicholson, in his biographic novel The Lost Art of Walking, discusses the unrealistic quality which appears when changing the geometry of the walking body. When using different areas of support, Nicholson links association with theories of bipedalism, approaching the means of moving through space on two legs when walking. As Nicholson proclaims, the move was always onwards and upwards. 4 legs good, 2 legs better, reinforcing the functionalism behind this act. As you will see, this task enabled each walker to begin to abolish orders and habitual movement patterns, aiding them to start to develop a new walking culture. When considering how I could extend the simplistic notions which surround walking, I wanted to encourage a playful exploration based on the walker's own associations with different verbs of this motion. I supplied all 4 walkers with a list of words associated with travelling, for example, tread, meander and intersect. As Nicholson suggests, each word has its own shade of meaning. I then asked each to select 4, write them down and test separately, mixing up and placing in a pocket. This added a chance element to the task, as each time they revealed a new word, they'd act instinctively, so there was no presumed order. What became particularly valuable was the fact it was free to interpretation, and also visually captured the different characteristics which can be adopted when travelling. To retain the walker's awareness on these spatial signs, after they felt they'd explored each verb, I asked them to annotate their pathways and illustrate the qualities of space associated with their movement output, and repeat for each. This envisaged an act of walking which draws lines, shapes and trajectories through the built environment onto a piece of paper to become a permanent score. From experimenting with these previous tasks, this enabled me to introduce my research title, Constructing an Individualised Group. I requested each walker, Julie, Lauren, Lydia and Zoe, to wander the high walks of the Barbican estate, supplying them with a predetermined destination point on the 2nd floor of the Barbican Arts Centre. Although their journey being my principal interest, let us now meet each walker individually.
An individualised
if you would like to
group.
introduce yourselves.
Lydia Coucher.
Lauren Siebel.
Zoe Wilson.
You will notice I asked them to each plot and annotate a draft of those. Individual starting points and using their wayfinding skills to map their own frame of reference. Kevin Lynch's The Image of a City suggests each walker inhabits these skills through an active familiarisation with their landscape as they allow themselves to wander this terrain. I asked each to specifically apply Lynch's categories of architectural design elements: paths, a guideline for walking activity; edges, the visible boundary and outline of a city; districts, an area you enter inside of; nodes, events on the journey, such as symbols, a trajectory of paths, anything distinctive to the walker; and landmarks, larger points of reference for your journey, helping the walker to keep directional focus. These devices provided a methodology for the walkers to structure a personal route. Through the walker's shorthand of mapping their journeys, they show evidence of the use of spatial storage from Lynn Libben's cognitive mapping tool, in which spatial storage is described as a subconscious process of gaining spatial knowledge as you travel. Through the film, you will see a layering of construction and application of their previous walking cultures, experiments, portraying these walking excursions as each walker's lived process. Lydia's exploration of travel is demonstrated through her continual negotiation of supports, and this motion facilitating interaction between the walker and the high walk she is moving through. Lydia follows the instructive vector of direction the yellow line provides, although this obstructs the functionalism from straying from and returning to the line, depicting de Santo's notion of a practice space with exploring sequences of travelling. Throughout their routes, I instructed each walker to continue to annotate their pathways after each high walk they travelled through, constructing an overall map of their travels, which I had them plot Lynch's environmental features from their previous draftings. Each walker was provided with colouring pencils to draw and map a design of their movement, so each high walk had a visual, permanent trace. This continuous documentation of their routes helped each walker to feel an embodiment of their illustrations, through their drawings translating into steps. The inclusion of orientation systems, mainly the concession of using a yellow line to route the walkers in the Barbican estate, inspired Zoe to notice the weathering of this marker as an opportunity to construct her own trace in between. Joined by another walker, Julie, she interpreted Zoe's movements through different ways of tracing, including scribbling, dashing, trailing, and outlining the walker's spatial patterns, investigating how we can record tacit information, and using yellow chalk as a tool to assist leaving our bodily traces. Zoe and Lauren's routes both demonstrate this action of tracing as a passing image. Lauren specifically brings agency to forgotten traces of touch other than the well-trodden floor surface. When researching, I also wanted to explore how the walkers working in a duet could construct together, for the use of contact and negotiation, as I found a shared dynamic and authorship. This idea stemming from Jane Northcott's suggested route, the yellow line from Moorgate, presenting the walker with creative choices, such as the opportunity of encountering another pedestrian. Zoe's and Julie's use of tracing in the moment to create continuation and alternative yellow line highlights Carol Brown's proposal of an alternative pathway in space. Lydia chose on her route to leave a permanent trace on the pavement, using the chalk to make new tracks through a written commentary of her movements, interpreted by Lauren. This written score provides a narrative of movement inspired by rights and sights, again connecting to their proposal of creating a new walking culture, and therefore here the concept of writing the city, which is available to then be traced and tell our pedestrians about her individual travels and directional choices. In front of you, you will see a marker representing the idea of the ownership of your route and trajectory decisions, personalising each direction